All right, good morning, everyone. This meeting of the California Agricultural Labor Relations Board is now called to order at 10:07 a.m. Before we get started, even if you can hear me now, we do have both English and we have Spanish interpretation today. Please go in your Zoom application and select your preferred language so that you can ensure you're able to hear throughout the meeting. We'll pause to make sure that message can be relayed in Spanish.
Buenos días y gracias por acompañarnos hoy en nuestra junta. Tenemos servicio de interpretación. Por favor, vea hacia abajo de su pantalla en Zoom y haga clic en el glóbulo de interpretación y elija su idioma. Aunque vaya a escuchar en inglés, por favor, escoja el idioma inglés para que pueda escuchar bien. Gracias.
Thank you, Santiago. I will go through the roll. Board Member Broad,
Present.
Board Member Flores,
Present.
Board Member Hall. Thank you, Board Member Hall. Board Member Lightstone.
Present.
Thank you, Member Hall. Good to see you as always. Next are I would like a motion to approve the most recent meeting minutes from May 8th. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. Member Flores, we'll count that as a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 The minutes from May 8th have been approved. Next, we will go on to the chair's report. I have a few items. We are in a busy time of outreach and looking at forming new collaborations. As I mentioned, we had a meeting with the Center for Workers' Rights, here in the Sacramento area, and it was very productive, and I was really appreciative of our outreach staff and regional staff joining us from afar during that meeting. We had a really great discussion. They're an entity that their sole focus is on helping low-wage workers better access and utilize and exercise their rights before the state administrative labor agencies, and they work with farm workers as well as cannabis cultivators. And so we had a great discussion about how we could have more know your rights presentations and collaborative efforts to better reach and serve workers within those groups in this area, which I think there are not as many community-based organizations that provide that type of service here as there are in other parts of our state. Additionally, I had several great meetings yesterday. We had our quarterly meeting of the labor roundtable at the Mexican consulate, and it was a very interesting discussion. The U.S. Department of Labor and Mexican consulate shared kind of their readout of a recent incredibly tragic event. Some H-2A workers en route to a farm in Oregon were driving through California. They had just crossed the border the day before, and unfortunately on March 22nd, they were in a very serious car accident. 16 workers were injured, and one unfortunately lost his life on his way to work. And so they shared kind of how they were navigating that. It was very complicated given that they were H-2A workers with an Oregon farm that had utilized a subcontractor based in Mexico that was transporting the workers to start their job. The company is headquartered in Arizona, and the unfortunate incident happened here in California. And it was a really great discussion between a variety of entities, both state entities, federal agencies, Mexican consulate, as well as our community-based partners such as CRLA, that had discussion about how to address all the various issues with those workers, get them the care that they needed, ensure their rights were protected, their family members were able to reach them, that they were taken care of given that they were severely injured here in our state. And it led to a really good discussion, and also highlighted a campaign that I want to lift up here that the U.S. Department of Labor has been pushing about traffic safety for our farm workers in particular, who are driving in the early hours or the evening hours, sometimes on rural roads. And there was an article just about this in Cal Matters, I believe yesterday, discussing how the state has made such efforts, and there have been, unfortunately, we're starting to see a rise in traffic accidents impacting our farm workers. There was a tragic accident in Florida just yesterday where a bus of farm workers and multiple people were killed, and no one should leave for their job and not be able to come home or anywhere. And so I just want to highlight that, and I want us to continue to try and find ways to kind of help spread the message of safety. In some, certainly not all of these incidents, workers are not wearing seatbelts. We know that seatbelts save lives, and there are obviously many other things we need to be doing to ensure that our workers are safe. So just wanted to share that. I'm sorry to have that tragic note. We did segue into other topics. We discussed increasing our efforts with some of the Mexican consulates in other ag areas and building our relationship with the Fresno consulate. I understand the Mexican consulate in Fresno, I should say. I understand that there's going to be an in-person training, at least with our staff and the consulate in Fresno in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that. And there was also discussion about wanting to partner with the Salvadoran consulate. And I know that's been an effort with board member Flores, and she's had some discussion. So really looking to kind of help kind of implement that and maybe build on some of the work we have with the Mexican consulate. So the next meeting will be in August, and it's just been a great working, really great partnership, and great to have that forum. Additionally, yesterday, the Coalition for Worker Power has a 2-day event, and they had a celebration of California workers last night, hosted by the UC Labor Centers, and it was a great evening to highlight the work a lot of these groups are doing. We've heard from several farm workers, in addition to workers in other industries, and they had several staff members from some of the expanded network of the UC Labor Centers speak at the event, and I had the opportunity to meet the new executive director of the UC Santa Barbara Labor Center, who highlighted that she's been working with groups that we work with, like MyCop and Cause. They're going to be having some summer interns for Labor Summer that are going to be working with them with some of those groups and going out into the fields. And so we discussed having some further discussions and hopefully setting up some trainings, particularly for those interns that are going to be looking to inform workers of their rights. And I know we have already great partnerships with some of the organizations those interns are going to be working with, but I'm hoping we can discuss that, since there is we have such strong UC Labor Centers in Berkeley, LA, and Merced has really been a great partner in the last few years. So this will be a great addition to serve those coastal areas. So excited to have further discussions with our outreach team and the general counsel about how we can further those efforts. And lastly, just as a note, I did check in this morning, as I mentioned last meeting. There is a affordable housing project for senior farm workers in Half Moon Bay that the governor himself has lifted up and encouraged local governments to adopt. Sounds like there was a raucous meeting. You can read the reports about that and some of the discussions and frankly barriers that people are trying to put up on what I can see as a necessary housing project. But the project appears to have been approved, but with a lot of conditions, and it will go before the city council. And I don't know enough about housing policy to speak on that, but just hopefully it did get to the next stage, and I'm hoping that we can continue to support farm worker housing efforts, given the acute need and how they're really, like many facing the brunt of the housing crisis. So that concludes the chair's report. The next update is the executive officer's report with Santiago Gomez. Santiago.
Good morning, Chair Hussey and members of the board. For today's report, since our last public meeting where I reported on the complaints and administrative orders and pending matters, since May 3rd, there's been no complaints or settled complaints to report. There are 4 administrative orders that have issued, and those are found on our website under the legal search tab. off the homepage. The first administrative order 2024-12 was issued on May 6th in the Wonderful Nurseries LLC matter, and that case number 2024 RM 002, and that order granting the proposed intervener's application for special permission to appeal and denying the appeal from the order denying motion to intervene. Next, admin order 2024-13 and case number 2019 CL 005 et al. And that's the United Farm Workers of America and Monterey Mushrooms LLC as respondents, issued on May 6th. And that order granted Monterey Mushroom LLC's application for special permission to appeal the ALJ's order to hold the hearing virtually, and the order directed the ALJ to modify the CMC order pursuant to the admin order. The next admin order to issue was 2024-14. Also in Wonderful Nurseries LLC, case number 2024 RM 002. That order denied petitioner UFW's request for reconsideration of a prior admin order. And on the same day, 2024-15, also in Wonderful Nurseries, the board issued an order dismissing without prejudice the employer's request for review of record of the regional director's determination of proof of maturity status. Turning to pending matters, there are 5 pending matters. The first is DMB Packing Corp. doing business as a Demari company. That is a decision that is pending review by the board. Briefing was completed on April 29th. The case number 2023-RM-001. Next is Wonderful Nurseries, actually the rest of them are Wonderful Nurseries and their special appeals. The first is Regional Director's request for special permission to appeal the investigative hearing examiner's order regarding the Regional Director's petition to revoke subpoena duces tecum that was filed on May 7th, and the opposition was filed on May 14th. Next is the general counsel's request for special permission to appeal the very same order, and that was filed on May 9th. And the opposition or response is due on May 16th. Next is the Wonderful Nurseries UFW application for special permission for an interim appeal of IAG ruling regarding production of union authorization cards. And finally, the other UFW application for special permission for an interim appeal of the investigative hearing examiner's order on union's motion for court order requiring the employer to immediately disclose declarations, or in the alternative for more detailed statement of facts. Both UFW applications were filed on May 13th, and then any opposition or response is due on May 20th. That concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Santiago. Our next agenda item is litigation report, and we do have an update. We've been having some audio issues this morning, so Todd, if you want to go off mute, and we'll see if we can have you do the report. Okay, you're still on mute, Todd. Okay. Oh, Todd?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and the board. For a litigation report, we have an update. The board received notice that a new lawsuit was filed on Monday, May 13, in Kern County Superior Court by Wonderful Nurseries LLC. At this time, it does not appear a case number has been assigned or is available yet. The board has not yet been served the petition for writ of mandate and complaint. The complaint generally challenges Labor Code section 1156.37 and asserts various claims related to the pending administrative proceedings in case number 2024-RM-002 involving Wonderful and a majority support petition filed by the United Farm Workers of America.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate that report. Okay, our next agenda item is our general counsel's report with General Counsel Julie Montgomery. Julie.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I want to start off introducing a new staff member who I believe is present on this call, Noemi Gregorio, who is our new training and community education specialist based in our Salinas office. I believe she started just like a little over a week and a half ago. So welcome to Noemi, and she's going to be helping to coordinate outreach and training for Region 1. So welcome, Naomi. Next, moving on to—
I'll echo that welcome. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
We're excited to have you. Sorry, Julie.
No, go ahead. That's fine. Moving on to settlements. I have a couple of settlements to report since my last appearance at a board meeting. One is for Terra Linda Dairy. And this case was filed by a dairy worker in Sonoma County, or the charge was filed on November 29th, 2023. So just a few months ago, alleging that the dairy retaliated against him and others by threatening them with loss of employment and physical harm because they engaged in protected concerted activity when they raised concerns about how their foreman treated them. The parties reached a settlement with the ALRB. This was pre-complaint, in which the company agreed to cease and desist from retaliating against the workers who speak up about mistreatment by the foreman. And they also agreed to the standard noticing remedies and for the ALRB to conduct a training of their supervisors. So kudos to our Region 1 staff on those assigned to that case for a swift resolution. Next, I will report on True North Farming Company. And this was a charge initially filed by MICOP, the Mixteco Indigenous Community Organizing Project, which is a community-based organization that advocates for farm workers in Ventura County. And they filed a charge against True North Farming Company on behalf of agricultural workers who planted and harvested strawberries back in October of 2022. And this charge alleged that the company retaliated against the workers by changing their work assignments after workers complained that the restrooms appeared dirty and smelled bad. And I believe there are also some complaints about payment issues. And the ALRB filed a complaint at the end of this past year, December 28th, 2023. And a hearing was set to begin on April 30th. But the Friday before that, the parties entered into a settlement agreement in which the respondent agreed to pay $22,000 in back wages, interest, and excess taxes to the affected workers. And respondent also agreed to standard noticing remedies. And I'll also mention that during our investigation before the complaint was filed, respondent did offer the workers, this was 7 workers, they offered their jobs back. So they were offered reinstatement earlier on in the process. So kudos to our team in Region 1 team that handled True North Farming and all the staff who worked on that. It's a good result. And it's always nice to be able to get money in the pockets of workers sooner rather than later. So, moving on to a little bit of outreach. I'll just highlight a few things that the staff has been up to since the last meeting. They tabled and distributed materials at a May 1st citizenship fair hosted by it was called the Coalición Primero de Mayo in Fresno. Our staff also participated in a Farm Worker Services Coalition meeting in Imperial County, which is hosted by EDD. They distributed materials and did outreach at a Cinco de Mayo festival in Porterville in Tulare County. They attended virtual agricultural enforcement partners meeting hosted by the U.S. Department of Labor. Our staff provided office hours in more remote locations to be more accessible to areas not close to our offices, and that happened in rural Ventura County through Poder Popular, which is a nonprofit group in Santa Paula, and also at Cause in Santa Maria in Santa Barbara County. Staff showed up and distributed materials, did outreach at a Oaxacan community shed in Watsonville. In Santa Cruz County, they attended a wage clinic and did outreach at a MyCop office in Santa Maria. And also, finally, last but not least, conducted an in-person training presentation at a general meeting hosted by the Dolores Huerta Foundation, Vecinos Comité Lindsay in Tulare County. So it's good to see our staff is still out there conducting outreach and making themselves accessible to farm workers in our vast state. So thank you to all. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Julie, and want to echo your gratitude to the staff. It's always exciting to see workers when they avail themselves of the act, be able to have quick resolution and get back to work. And I appreciate that, particularly the Terra Linda Dairy case, which sounded very in less than 6 months from complaint to settlement. So that's really wonderful. And I just want to highlight.
Yeah, and I also was going to mention to you that this was from a Sonoma County dairy, which I think is good, because we historically have not had a lot of workers come from the dairy industry in that area. So it's nice to see that those workers are also availing themselves of our services.
Wonderful. Yeah, keep us posted on when the reading for that is. And still have never been to a dairy. I don't know if that's the best opportunity, but we'll see. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Okay, next, thank you, Julie and team. Next, we have our administrative services report with Brian Doherty. Brian.
Chair Hasid, board members, just have a couple of brief updates to share. On Friday, May 10th, the governor released his May revision updates to the budget, and there were a couple of items of note involving ALRB. ALRB had a portion of a May revision letter that was included as part of that update. We were requesting $67,000 in labor and workforce development funds as part of the new resources agency building update that's going forward. Essentially, this was a request for funding to split out some additional IT and infrastructure costs that are going to be shared across all labor departments that are going to be part of that building, and ALRB's portion of that cost was $67,000. So that will be in front of the legislature for hearing and action between now and the end of the fiscal year. In addition, there were two statewide control sections that were brought forward by the governor that I wanted to bring to your attention. One of which is a proposal to reduce of vacant positions across the state by 10,000. So that will have some sort of impact on ALRB. And in addition, there was a administration proposal for an 8% across the board reduction to all state departments. There'll be a forthcoming budget letter from the Department of Finance with more details on both of these proposals. But kind of a high level estimate, an 8% reduction, depending on whether it's taken across all fund sources or whether it's just strictly general fund, would be anywhere between about $1 million and $1.5 million dollar reduction to ALRB. So as additional information becomes available, I'll be sure to keep the board apprised of the actual impact. And with that, happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Thank you, Brian. No questions, and we'll continue to work through that and do what we can do. Appreciate it. Next item, we do not have a legislative report. However, I do understand from Board Member Broad that the Regulation Subcommittee does have a subcommittee update. So I will turn it over to Board Member Broad.
Good morning. I just wanted to, on behalf of the subcommittee, which is myself and member Lightstone, I'm just inform the board members, staff, and the public of just sort of where we are in the process. We promulgated a regulation package implementing AB 113, which was the law that created the new majority support election system, as well as made some other changes to bonds and so forth, but principally it affected and created a whole new system. And we had public comment. We had a public comment period. That public comment period closed. We are now in the process of reviewing those public comments, and hopefully soon, I can't say exactly when, but in the near future, we hope to have a revised package that responds to those public comments and other changes that we internally have, feel are necessary to place before the board. And then we would have a revised set of potential regulations, and then there would be a comment period that would be limited to those revisions. So where there was no revisions, we wouldn't be considering changes and so on. But then the public would there would be an additional public comment period. Then we would ultimately decide what to do with those comments, and we would then vote to accept or reject, or whatever we wanted to do with the regulation package, and then it would be they would be adopted by the board and would then move to OAL, for Office of Administrative Law, for their process of review on the way to them being finalized and implemented. So that's just kind of where we are in the process, and if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the update, and I'm really appreciative of the subcommittee's work, and also the work of, I know, in particular, Todd, who's been helping facilitate this, and appreciate the staff comments that were shared at the regulations hearing about a month ago, and hoping we can move this package forward. So appreciate your work. And with that, our next agenda item is public comment. Those who have entered the queue will be called on first. If you did not request ahead of time to make public comment, you may still do so. You can let us know in one of several ways. You can use the raise hand feature. You can send a message in the chat. It looks like we only have staff and the interpreter here, so we know your name. And I'll pause there to see if anyone else has public comment they wish to make. Okay, not seeing any, we will close public comment, and the board will now go into closed session. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Can you mute the computer? Can you mute that?
That's probably that one.
Okay, good afternoon. It is 12:15 and the board is back from closed session. We're having unknown audio issues. The last agenda item is announcements. Our next regular board meeting is at next Wednesday, May 22nd at 11 a.m. And it is a special board meeting to allow the board to deliberate in closed session. So it will be online and at our ALRB headquarters in Sacramento. And now at 12:16, this meeting is adjourned. Good seeing you.